Hi everyone, I'm Nick Mason, City of Trinidad, Head of Development Services. Appreciate you guys all coming to the informational session on the 2024 building code adoption, and just kind of brief on that is the city's looking at adopting, switching from the 2018 building code, which is we're currently on, to the 2024 building code. We have Shauna Manzino here with us. She helps municipalities adopt building codes, so she's very technical expert on this type of situation. So we're very fortunate to have her working with us, and appreciate you guys all coming. Shauna's going to kind of go through some overviews of the changes from the 2018 to the 2024 building code, and then we'll have some questions afterwards. I think that's all I got.
Okay, thanks. Hi. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I can just about tell you that I already know what you're going to ask or say or whatever, because that's what everybody's saying right now. You want to know about costs. You want to know about is this going to hinder growth? What about affordable housing? You're going to run us out of town. You're going to run us out of business. And those are all the things that I hear every day. And so I'm just here to talk to you about them. Personally, I'm not tied to what you do, right? I have been a building inspector and a building planner reviewer for 25 years, and then I went out with Colorado Code Consulting, who's now Shams Coda. I worked for them for 10 years, and then I had my own company doing code consulting and teaching and researching buildings under construction and researching codes and where do we need education and where do we need better code language because nobody understands it. So right now I work for Noresco and I am their codes project manager. So basically helping people adopt codes, writing their amendments, sitting down with jurisdictions. I sat down with Trinidad, figure out what are your abilities, what are your goals, what can you do, what do you don't want to do. I'm working with Aspen. They want a code that goes into the next century, right? But I work with Trinidad and they want the base minimum that will move us forward and keep us legal with the state but not be ridiculous, right? And so I just figure out what you want and what you're capable of and then give you, write your code to meet that, make some recommendations on amendments, and then provide resources and training and things to make it happen. So like I say, I'm not really tied to what you do. I just want to make sure that whatever y'all do, it's legal. Right? The state, unfortunately, has come out with some state mandates this last few legislation sessions, and we haven't been able to keep up. I'm a past president of the Colorado chapter of ICC, and we ourselves, as a chapter of ICC of code officials, had to hire a lobbyist this year to get in there and be in the legislation because we were not, as volunteers, able to keep up with all the legislation that was affecting buildings, and we were like losing ground. And so we had to hire somebody to help us this year keep up so that we don't, this legislation doesn't make it through in the future without us at least having a say-so in it. So I get where you're coming from. We're all feeling that. Every jurisdiction struggles with adopting a new code, and so just as a heads up, there are some state mandates out there that are going to drive what we do. I know that especially in small rural type locations, a new code is not what everybody wants, right? And there's nothing that says right now, today, we have to adopt a new code, right?
Right.
Everybody agrees. However, there is something that says that we have, outside of the wildfire code, there is a state legislation that says you have until April 1st to adopt that wildfire resiliency code, right? Or equivalent, which we are working on with the fire, I think, to do the WUI code and with amendments to make it equal to the wildfire resiliency code. So that is the state legislation that is required. By April 1st, every jurisdiction, every fire department, fire jurisdiction has to adopt the wildfire code. That we have no say-so over. That's not in these amendments. That's a separate package that the fire department is doing. So that one aside. What the other state law is that there is a law out there that says if a jurisdiction changes their codes before June 30th of this year, they have to adopt either the 21 or the 24 energy code plus the state electric ready, solar ready, EV ready code. That's if you change codes, right? If you wait until after June 30th, so July 1st, till the unseen future, because who knows what next legislation will do, but if you wait until after June 30th and you change codes, you have to adopt the 2024 energy code and the low energy and carbon code. So when I sat down with the state, or with Trinidad, we said, okay, at some point you're going to want to move forward. If we do it before June 30th, all we have to do is the electric ready code. If we wait till July 1st or any time in the next few years, we have to do the low energy and carbon code. Here's what those two codes are. Which one do you want? And so we chose the least restrictive, the least one to do. That's how we ended up there, or how we are at least where we're at right now. But it's up. But I know there's a lot of questions, and we're going to go through all of it. So there were some. Yes.
So it seems to me like you're presenting this as an either or situation. It doesn't appear to be that.
What do you mean?
You're saying either we adopt this by June, or we have to go with the next code. But it seems to me like you also said that there's no driving force to push us to update our code. So in fact, we don't have to change to the next code. We don't have to change at all.
You're correct. That's why I say there's nothing that says you have to do it. If you change before June 30th, you have to do this. If you change after June 30th, you have to do that. There are other driving forces. One was when they first came out with the wildfire code. The way the legislation is written, it does say if there is a change to codes that affect buildings. It doesn't say if there's a change to your building code. It says if there's a change to codes that affect buildings, even at the state level, and it affects your buildings, it's considered a change for you. That's how it was written. But so we hurried and scrambled. I was like, wait a minute. When I saw that legislation come out for the wildfire code, I thought, wait a minute. Does that mean if the wildfire code gets mandated, we have to turn around and adopt the energy code and the electric ready code? And they said, yes, the way it's written. And so we hurried. There was some other legislation out there that was still open that hadn't been decided on it, like at the very last minute, on building performance standards, something that had nothing to do with anything we were doing. That was the only legislation open. We hurried and ran and got wording in there that said, if the wildfire code goes through, it will not kick in a change for the energy code. And so that passed. So now just adopting the wildfire code doesn't make you do this. However, there is a state electrical code and a state plumbing code, right? And those are codes that affect your building. So they do say that when the state electrical board changes to the new NEC, which is in August of this year, August, because they'll go to the 2027 or 2026. When the state electrical board changes to a new electrical code, that will affect your buildings. Therefore, you will be forced to adopt a new code, the new energy code. And at that time, that will be after June 30th, which means that when they do that, you will be required to adopt the low energy and carbon code.
Can I ask you, would you explain to me what the low electric?
Yes, I will. I will definitely do that. So right now the state minimum is the electric ready, solar ready EV code. That's basically saying if you have, you're allowed to use gas appliances, we don't care. Just wherever you have a gas appliance, make sure you put an electric outlet that's properly sized.
Isn't that on the
and
electrical
stuff.
side of things?
What's that?
Isn't that on the electrical side?
Yes, but you guys have electric, the state electric, you have electric in your buildings, right? And that electric code is affects your buildings. So it says you have to adopt that, right? And so you have this electric ready code. And so it's basically put in outlets wherever you put in a gas appliance. That way, if somebody in the future wants to take out that gas appliance, they can plug in an electric appliance without having to, pull permits and jump through the hoops because it's already done. You did it at time of construction when it's cheaper than doing it after the fact. And then asks for solar ready. I'm sorry.
It's more expensive at time of construction.
If you don't want it, that's 100% true. I get it. I get the cost. I'm not advocating for anything because I do get the costs. I will talk about costs in just a minute. The solar ready also says the solar ready provisions just say if you have a house that's oriented between 110 degrees and 270 degrees of true north, and you have adequate roof space, you need to save some of that space for future solar. You never have to install anything, you don't have to run any conduit, you just have to show on the plans at time of construction when you turn in for a permit where that might be and where conduit could be run in the future. There's no requirement for any install or for anything, just save it. And then save a space on the panel for future solar. It's the only physical spot on the solar.
Ma'am, why should my customers have to pay for that? They don't want
I
it.
agree with you. I agree with
I
you.
mean,
This is a state
how's-
mandate. This is not
okay.
something we have the option for, unfortunately.
I'm just saying, this is
I
like
do.
my customers scream at me.
I hear you. One thing that I will say, and I think we had this discussion here, I don't know, I speak at a lot of jurisdictions, so I gotta remember. If the utility doesn't have the ability to do, or has too many restrictions on solar, I don't remember if that was here, your utility, it has restrictions on solar use, then I've talked to the state and I'm like, I'm not gonna require them to do solar ready if the utility won't even let them do solar. And so they're like, yes, you're exempt from the solar ready if the utility won't even do it, right? So solar ready isn't one of the options. And then the other thing is EV ready. What that says is that every new, doesn't apply to existing, every new single family dwelling that has a dedicated parking space will have an EV ready space. That doesn't mean you put in a charger, it means you run the conduit and put the outlet so someday somebody could run the charger without tearing up the concrete and tearing up the driveways to put it in. You do it at time of construction. So that's the minimum right now. If we wait until after June 30th, so July 1st, it becomes the low energy and carbon code. The low energy and carbon code for residential it has all of those requirements in it for electric ready, solar ready, EV ready. Those are in there. But it also is a rewrite of the energy code. So it's the 2024 energy code with the state's amendments written into it, and it basically says, I'm going to boil it way down. It's wanting you to build smaller and all electric. You don't have to, but if you don't, you have to do more. So what it does say, if you have a house that's under 2,000 square feet and you use all electric, you have to do this minimum stuff for energy efficiency. But if it's under 2,000 and you put gas in there, you have to do that plus this extra stuff. If you're over 5,000 square feet and you are all electric, you have to do this minimum. If you're over 5,000 square feet and you use gas, you have to do these extra things. If you're over 7,500 square feet, you have to be net zero, right? So that's basically, and then it has demand responsive controls and stuff for heat pumps and things like that. So that's the after July code. When we weighed the two, we felt that the electric ready code was the least of the options to go to, that Trinidad wasn't quite ready for this gas electric war thing going on over here, and that you have to do more if you use gas, because gas is, pretty prevalent. A lot of people are doing all electric anyway already, but that's your option, and so we want it to keep being your option. And so that's kind of how we ended up with that one. Like I say, we don't have to move forward, but the state will move forward with their new electric code come August 1st. And the legislation does say if the state electric board moves forward and that electric code affects your buildings, it will be considered a change to your buildings, and you will have to change codes. It gives you a little time to do it, I think 1 year. So we can either adopt this one now, or we can wait, and we'll have to go to the low energy and carbon code within a year. So nobody is advocating for all of it, right? We're just saying, these are the state laws, which one can we deal with, and which is the best one for us right now?
So I can't remember the name of this House bill. I can look it up if you'd like, but it was a carve out for rural municipalities that they don't have to do anything until 2030.
There is a thing that is on. Yes, there is a thing in one of the House bills.
I can look it up.
Yeah, but I think that is for the multifamily one. Is that the one for the multifamily one? No, it's for
It
this
was
one.
period. And
House Bill 22-1362.
185.
Oh wait, what? I'm sorry.
The House Bill 23-1085.
Yeah.
Says a rural municipality is not required before July
July
1st,
30th.
2030 to adopt the 2021 IEC Plus Electric Solar Ready Standard that would otherwise apply with a code update. Trinidad's population is only 8,329 in the 2020 census, right?
Yep.
So Trinidad appears to be in a small kind of municipality.
Yep.
This delay was designed to cover.
Yep.
Though the city attorney or the building official should confirm the legal classification of that. Doesn't that bill right there say this small town?
You're 100% right. I know that when I was talking to the state a few weeks ago, I asked them about that. I said, I keep hearing about this 2030 deadline, and they did say that there is a 2030 deadline. The only reason I didn't bring it up is because I feel like I just want to get verification. But there is a 2030 deadline that says if the state, and it's tied to that state electrical code, if the state moves to the new electric code in August, rural jurisdictions will not be required they will have to go to the new low energy and carbon code, but they won't have to do it until 2030. However, when I talked to the state, they were talking about how it is tied to how a jurisdiction words their code adoption. Whether they say we adopt the NEC or we leave it all up to the state, and if the state adopts the NEC, and depending on how that's worded, kicks in whether you have to do it within a year or if you have to wait till 2030. And so that's the part that is like, which one was it? You guys don't adopt the NEC at all, you leave it all up to the state. And so my understanding was in that case, if it's all up to the state, then when the state moves, you have to move. But if you adopt it and the state moves, then you have till 2030. That's my understanding. And so
I haven't had a chance to call every municipality that is in our size, but I've talked to two.
Okay.
La Junta and Craig, Colorado.
Craig, yep.
They are not doing this. They're waiting.
Yeah.
And they explained everything.
Yeah.
All of these things were covered. It's not affecting them.
Right.
So for us to be told that we have to do this or this something really bad's going to happen, that's not correct.
I worked with Craig, and I do understand Craig. Craig does adopt the NEC though, where you guys don't, and that's where I think your difference is. I don't know La Junta because I haven't ever worked with them, but I work with most of your other jurisdictions. I just was in Pueblo last night, and Alamosa and everywhere. I'm not trying to say, hey, I don't want you to do something that will get you in trouble or be surprised next year when you get stuck doing something. And so my understanding of this, and this is my understanding, and I mean, I talk to the state every day, is if you don't adopt the NEC and the state changes, then it's a change to your code also, and you have to move forward within the year. If you do adopt the NEC and the state changes, they're gonna give you until 2030 to do it. And so that's where, like, are we sure we don't adopt the NEC or the plumbing code? That's all 100% by the state. Then when the state changes, you have to change. And that is my understanding. I will definitely get a clarification on it for sure, because I don't want you to think I'm up here telling you, oh, doomsday is coming.
So, well, I was just going to clarify. I do think we adopt the NEC. I just think we adopt it as it is. We just don't. We don't.
I don't see it
We don't
anywhere
inspect
in
it,
there.
and I'm happy to be wrong, but yeah, it was not adopted.
So the state does our plumbing and.
They do, but do we adopt the International Building Code for electric and plumbing?
No, not that I've seen.
Not
No.
that you've seen. Okay.
See, that's my
Yeah, go ahead.
You were first.
Okay, so first off, I'm pretty sure that the state follows the NEC, and
Yeah,
we're
they do,
just
they do.
adopting what they do. So
Right.
it's really just a change if we don't want this to go to the city commission and say, put in there that we're going to adopt our own NEC instead of following what the state's doing. It's that simple. Get a vote. Get
No. I can promise you that that is not true. Because if you adopt a code that affects buildings,
Then you change the code.
it will kick in the requirement.
The other thing I was going to say is going back to the solar setup you pointed out. You
Yes.
said that it was going to be minimum thing, all that. So that leads me to believe that you're going to accept hand-drawn solar plans down at the city. I kind of doubt that. What it's going to require is a solar engineer to draw up and design plans. This isn't a cheap thing.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be presented as
No, I agree, you're 100% right. So I think, one, that, do you guys do your own solar permitting, or does the state?
We do our own solar permitting, but we're limited
Yeah, I mean,
to how many
it's
solar
pretty substantial.
But
permits
you-
that we issue here.
You're limited on how many solar permits you can issue, and because of that, I did take it to the state. I'm trying to answer your question.
Plus the azimuth reading isn't the azimuth reading wrong for our area? Our sun seems to come mostly on the south side of our river.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of exceptions in there that says if you don't get sun, or for more than 65% of the time, or you don't have, like, there's tons of exceptions out of when you would need to do it, right? And we already got it approved by the state that if your utility is only gonna allow a certain amount, that you won't be required to do the solar part anyway. So I'm not 100% worried about the solar part. It isn't asking you to, it's just saying, save a spot on the roof that doesn't have a bunch of vents. And it doesn't ask you for much else than that. But again, we might not have to do it because you guys aren't allowed to issue very many solar permits. And so it would only be required on the ones that you do get issue with.
It sounds to me that the driving force behind this is the electrical code. If that's what it sounds, everything that you're talking about seems to be driven by the electrical code. But our city municipality is building and mechanical.
Right.
Not electrical,
Right.
not plumbing, those are state government in our rural area. You go up north, you go to Pueblo, you go to Colorado Springs, that place has a Pueblo or a regional building department, right? And then they have in-house plumbing, electrical,
Yep,
everything,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So how can, I'm confused on how the electrical code that is governed by the state is going to come in here and tell us that we have to change our code dealing with building and mechanical and, does that make sense?
Yes, believe me, I fought the same fight. Because I didn't even see the wording until after the legislation passed. Because I was the very first one, I guarantee you, the very first one at the state's, on the state's phone saying, does this mean? And they said, it sure does. And I'm like, well, that was a sneaky way to get it into the legislation. But it got in there.
Is that like low NOx and all this other stuff, they just get it back.
I mean, I can't, I mean, I'm not here to say whether it's good or bad. I like, yes, I agree, it's sneaky way to get it in there, and whether it's right or wrong, that's, you know, I can sit here and agree with all of you, but I can also tell you, here's what the laws say, and so based on that, what do we want to do? We could do nothing. We could do nothing. Here's what my understanding of the penalties if you just decide not to do anything. They're not going to come after you and throw you in jail, right? For the energy and the electric ready or the low energy and carbon code, you just go on the list where you won't they track where you won't get future funding.
Whoa,
That's the only thing that
Whoa.
that's what they told me is the only penalty.
Do you have anything in writing
Go
on
ahead.
that?
Okay, so thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Chair Marshall, it's good to see
Yeah,
you again.
yeah.
Thank you for coming back. I've
Yeah.
got 2 questions
Okay.
that go to the heart of what you're saying, and I
Yeah.
apologize. I didn't have them last time.
That's okay. I'm good.
Okay, I just want to verify what you said earlier on, which is if we adopt the WUI code,
Yes.
the Wildland Urban Interface
Yes.
Code,
Yes.
and we adopt that as a chapter of the IBC, you know how it's a section of the IBC, right? Because in our, is it not? Because in our conversations, we wanted local control.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to adopt what the state is
Right.
mandating.
Right.
We want to adopt our own wildland
Yes.
urban interface,
Yes.
and we want to parse out the things we don't want in there.
Right.
What the state has told us, and what I hear you saying is different, is that if we do that, it triggers the update to the building code. And I heard you just say that you snuck that in and it does not.
No. So you're right.
I have 2 questions.
No,
just the
that's
first
one, and so let me address that. You guys want to adopt the Wildland Urban
We
Interface
do.
Code, and not the Wildfire Resiliency Code, which is the one the state wrote.
Right.
The law says you are allowed to do that as long as it is not less restrictive. So what we did was work on your Wildfire Resiliency Code and bring over any amendments that would make it equal to, so that you still had your whole thing,
Right.
and you didn't have to adopt this.
Right.
Right? However, you're right in that what I said is if you adopt the Wildfire Resiliency Code, it doesn't trigger this other stuff. But if you adopt your Wildland Urban Interface Code, that's a code affecting buildings that wasn't listed in that
And
legislation.
it would trigger.
That will trigger it.
Okay, I needed to understand that difference. Thank you.
Mhm.
One of the reasons we were leaning into the wildland urban interface is we wanted local control,
Sure,
right?
sure.
We didn't want to adopt the resiliency code the state put out,
Right.
because then if they changed that adoption, we were subject to whatever they changed.
right.
We liked being able to adopt the wildland urban interface code
Sure.
because we could pick out and choose.
Yeah.
As long as we weren't less restrictive, we were golden.
Right.
But what I hear you saying now is that it has been determined if we do it that way,
Yeah.
the way we talked about earlier this couple months
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
that would trigger building.
Yes.
Okay, that's my first comment. My second comment is the DOLA portal launched in October 2025, and it lists every community compliance-wise
Right.
with these updates, right?
Yes.
So you are either compliant, non-compliant, or pending, or
Pending.
in progress,
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
yeah.
And right now, we're in progress because
Yep.
we haven't, city council hasn't
Yep.
made a determination of what they want to do.
True.
What I'm being told now is Executive Order 005 and Executive Order 11 that the governor issued last year
Okay.
say if you fail to adopt the Colorado Model Electric Ready and Solar Ready code, that can limit access to specific grant funding.
Right.
It's specifically listed 32 different grants, so we would not be able to apply to DOLA, to the Colorado Energy Office, to the Colorado Department of Transportation, to GOCO, and to CDPHE. So we would be limited if we are non-compliant on that portal by a governor's executive order,
Right.
not a
Not the
legislation.
legislation. That's
So I
yes.
just want to clarify that because you guys talked to Ty Winter. Ty told you exactly what was in the legislation. Ty called me. I talked to Ty afterwards. He's going back and looking, and what I'm hearing
Yep.
is that the executive orders would limit Trinidad
And that's
from
what-
any grant funding. Is
And
that-
believe me,
Can you
I
say if that's correct or
have
not?
to work with the state, and I mean, everything that I propose, I run by the state.
Right.
First of all, I won't sign my name to something that's illegal.
Right.
But I don't want to sign your name to something that's illegal, right? And if I have a couple jurisdictions that are like, forget it, okay, here it is, it's yours. I'm not going to be involved. I'll get fired. And so I asked, like, is this right? Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I preparing this the right way? Are we subject to funding? Why are you highlighting them red, yellow, orange on that spreadsheet that I have to track, that I have to update? And they're like, yes, that means the legislation doesn't say that you won't get funding.
It does.
The order from the governor says that you won't get funding, right?
And in defense of Representative Winter, he's in the assembly, so he's looking legislatively.
Right.
And his policy lawyer
Right.
is too.
Right.
But I wanted to verify with you that you are hearing that the executive order will stand, and what the governor will say to his cabinet members and to those agencies is that you cannot grant money to non-compliant.
That's exactly what it's, and some of that grant funding is what I'm concerned about. Some of that grant funding, I just don't, if you're not going to apply for certain grants, whatever, then why do you care? But if some of that grant funding is tied to affordable housing or to emergency funding or something like
Or
that, I
infrastructure.
don't want to put you in that position
Okay.
to not be eligible for that.
We
But I
can't
did.
get-
I 100% did when I wrote your amendments to the wildfire code, to the wildland urban interface code. I did approach Adam Berry at the state and said,
So
if they change this, will that be a change to their code? And we'll kick in the requirement to adopt all this other stuff. And he said, absolutely, because the legislation that said that the wildfire code won't kick it in only listed the Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code.
So I talked to Colorado Municipal League today,
Mm-hmm.
and what they have said is that when the lawsuit came up on the land use issue between all the jurisdictions and the state last year, like, you can't tell us accessory dwelling units, you can't tell us land use, you can't tell us all these things, that essentially that basically got, dropped in court. And that the governor has backed off and said something, this is what CML told me a couple hours ago, that he has said something like, jurisdictions that are non-compliant will simply not be prioritized for funding. So CML was able to get it from the way the order read earlier in the fall that said you will not get funding to now saying that you will not be prioritized.
That's
for
new. I
funding.
haven't heard that.
They're gonna do a
Now, I haven't seen that in writing. I can't find that in writing anywhere.
I'm surprised Adam hasn't told me, so maybe it hasn't officially gotten in writing yet. But
I don't know, but we're just trying to unwind this
yeah,
right
right.
now.
That's how and it's changing every day.
And just so you know, the Wildland Urban Interface, the Wildland Resiliency Code requires us to be adopted by April 1, and we will not.
Yeah.
It says it has to be functioning by July 1.
It says you have to adopt it by April 1st and implement it by July 1.
Right, we're gonna miss adoption. We've already missed that ability. We would have had to introduce that ordinance at the beginning of this month. We don't feel like we have enough answers yet.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of jurisdictions that way, and to be honest, I can't say, hey, it's okay, because that's not up to me to say. I'm not going to tell you, that's not my place to say. But there are a lot of jurisdictions in the same boat. You didn't give us very much time to get this through, answer all the questions, and get it through. You're allowed to amend that, even the state wildfire code, as long as you don't make it less restrictive, but you have to get those approved before you adopt it, and that state board is backed up on so many people's amendments that they can't get through it either. So I don't think making that April 1st deadline is going to.
That's what we heard, and that's how comfortable we were missing it. Thank you for your time. I apologize for monopolizing the questions.
It's good. I
That we
hadn't
can't answer
heard.
yet.
I hadn't heard that little bit of leniency. That would be great if they said we're just not going to prioritize it.
Yeah.
We're just not
Yeah, I said that I would set the state if the governor doesn't want your funding to happen.
Yeah.
There's like, we're in a dole around right now. We're requesting $150,000, and they are going to give away $38 million, and they got $72 million in requests.
Oh, yeah.
So prioritization might matter.
It might matter, especially moving forward. I mean, there's a lot of jurisdictions that are relying on state grant funding to help them implement all these new state mandated codes.
I think why that's so offensive to us in Los Animas County is that that particular energy fund comes from severance tax. And the state ranks every community on severance tax, and we are 9 out of 10. So by all rights, we should receive priority for that fund.
Should receive priority.
If you look at state statute, it says we should receive priority on energy impact assistance fund. And if they can turn around and say you don't adopt this, and you lose the priority based on state statute and what it says, it's very frustrating.
And like I said, I'm not sitting up here trying to, point you in the wrong direction or lead you astray or threaten you or anything. This is the laws as I know it. I sat down with the powers that be, like, what should we do? We know nobody's gonna love it, but which option do you hate less? I guess that's where we're at. There's 2 questions I don't know if
That's just real quick. Okay, so I heard 3 categories. I heard compliance, non-compliance, and in progress, right?
Right.
So what about if we open this up in our meetings and then table it until later, we officially reach the in progress stage, right?
We're in progress now.
Exactly, so if we
We
keep
come
tabling
non-compliant
it,
on July 1.
no, we just keep tabling it. We're still
You
in progress,
can't.
right?
Well, you can't keep tabling it. You can't because after August 1st, the state will adopt the electric code.
We're
We
non-compliant
have
on
till
July 1.
Then you will
2030.
be-
We have till 2030.
I'm sorry?
Because we're a rural municipality, because of that other law, we technically have till 2030.
I'm not going to verify that 100% because of the way you guys word your, I do say that. I'm very comfortable saying that for many jurisdictions. Because I know how they write, they say we adopt, this is how they word their adoption. We adopt the electrical code, we adopt the National Electrical Code based on, in accordance with the state of Colorado electric board. And so I know how they word that, and I'm comfortable telling them, I told Pueblo last night, you have until 2030, because I see how they adopt it. I don't know 100% for y'all because there's no wording in there about electric at all. So that's the only place where I want to make a clarification.
So
I get a call, Adam.
my question is, has the city of Trinidad, when you were working with them, did they take and do an evaluation of what this is going to cost the community, homeowners, people that want to build homes, reconstruction, remodels? Did they take the cost of that's going to happen to the economic drivers of our community versus missing a $150,000 grant? Not saying we miss a $150,000 grant, but I could almost, just in a layman's term, guess, just as a businesswoman, that it's going to cost a lot more than $150,000 to our community.
It could.
And I don't know.
Right,
And
so
then here's the
I
other thing.
have costs. I mean, they did ask for costs, and I gave costs that were given to me. I got my costs from the National Association of Home Builders. I don't take the Department of Energy's costs or any of the other folks out there because they all have a different motive. So I go straight to the National Association of Home Builders. They are very active at the code arena when we're writing codes. They are very active there, and they are very successful there. When we were writing the 2024 energy code, for instance, and the residential code, they were there. They were so successful in getting more flexibility and more options and everything built into this code that what they do is when the code gets published, they go through every single change that went into the code. They go through every change and they say, okay, for this climate zone, in this area, this code change, this one code change will add this much cost. And then now this one, and there's hundreds of changes that go into the code, get proposed for the code each year. And so every cycle, and you can go to the NAHB's, what is it called? HIRL, it's a research lab, their research lab. Every time a code comes out, they publish a report. I could probably show it to you on the screen. And so they said they look at the code change proposals and the cost to every single proposal. This is something that we talked about also that I haven't had a chance to share with you yet because I wanted to get over the law part. The code, the home builders looked at the 2018 code, the 21 and the 24. And they published a report showing every line item on every code change proposal that passed in all three of those cycles. They said to go, in our climate here, to go from the 2018 to the 2021, it's going to be an additional $3,000 just for the energy code and the residential code, the increase in cost per home based on a 2,500 square foot home. Okay? That's from the 18 to the 21. To go from the 21, that's just for that residential code and energy code. The reason it wasn't that much is because they also went, they were successful at the code hearings, getting lots of options put in. They also were very successful in getting their structural engineers to go through the whole IRC and muck out a lot of extra stuff that was put in there. There was a lot of fudge factor built into that IRC because it was the IRC, the International Residential Code, was written so that a homeowner could get this one book and build their own house. So there was a lot of fudge factor in there. They wanted everybody to be safe. Well, the home builders went and had their structural engineers go through there and like, we don't need triple headers anymore. We don't need blah, blah, blah. And so they got a lot of stuff pulled out of there. So the cost went way down. And so then when we published the 2024 code, they went through it again. And they determined that this is the home builders telling me that, and I can send you the report. For this climate, the cost to go from the 21 residential energy code to the 24 went down $3,600 for the same house because of the amount of things that the home builders got into the code. You won't believe how active they are there fighting for you. And they are very, very successful. So the cost went down $3,600. Now, we're at $3,600 cheaper than we were before. However, the state electric ready code comes in. So I tell the state, I'm going to get asked cost. I need you to tell me how much a 2,500 square foot house is going to cost to go to that electric ready code. So they hire Pacific Northwest National Lab to crunch the numbers. How much is it going to cost? You don't have to go all electric. It's counting that you're still going to use the gas appliances, but you're going to run your electric anyway, right? The cost, they came up, and believe me, I think it's conservative. I'm not, but this is Pacific Northwest National Lab's cost was $1,250 to go to that. So that we're still a little bit lower than we were, but now you got to add in that wildfire code, right? And so, right, they all add up. But I'm just telling you, it isn't the energy code driving the cost because those home builders are working their butt off for you, and they are getting the costs down in the energy code. It's the state mandated codes that are driving the costs up, and there's nothing we can do that I could do about that.
As a mechanical guy,
Yes. Ducts.
I actually disagree with some of what you said.
Really? To me, the ducts, commercial or residential?
Well, let me ask you. Let me just ask you a question. On the mechanics.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you a code question.
Okay, cool.
When we adopt a code and we're amending, does that need to happen at the very beginning, or can it happen anytime throughout the life of that code? When you do amendments, when you adopt a code, your amendments should come at the beginning.
Most of the time they come at the beginning. Most of the time. Every once in a while you'll use the code for a while and then you're like, oh, some people will decide, well, we're just going to write it as a policy for now until we go through another code adoption because it's such a hassle to go through the code adoption first and second reading.
Well, who does that? Does that have to happen by the city or does it happen by the inspector? Who makes those decisions?
The city council. The city council.
Right. That's all I need to know on that. Now, on the mechanical side, because I work in many jurisdictions. Here I'm on the 18, up here I'm on the 21, down there I'm on the 12. I'm all over the place, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you, in the 15, it was in the 18 code, mechanical started doing duct blast tests.
Yeah.
They only required that in an unconditioned space.
Right. And then it
But
went to everything.
now it went to anywhere.
Yeah, but have you looked at the 24? because the home builders got a whole new section written on duct testing, and
I don't look at the 24 because there's nobody in my jurisdiction.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's one of the biggest cost reductions that went into the energy code was the duct testing requirements that went into the 2024. It's not, you still have to test, but it is like, it's based on the amount of returns and all the home builders rewrote that whole section and it passed. It's one of the new changes in the 2024. That's why when you said mechanical, I'm like, that's where they've had the biggest difference in residential is in the 24. Yeah. The 2015 was great. The 2018 brought in, you know,
A lot more energy.
a lot more, and then the 2021 brought in even more. The 24 went back. The 21 brought in R60 for your ceilings here in this climate zone. The R24 took it back to R49, right? So that's why I'm saying, right now the state minimum is the 21. I don't want you to adopt it. It's too expensive. If you're going to change a code, let's go to 24 because that's where the difference was made. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're going to make a code, if you're going to make a change right now, I know where the difference was made in the 24 energy code. Adopt that one, right? If you have commercial buildings, to be honest with you, I have looked at the 21, which is the minimum right now, the 24, which you guys are adopting, and then the state's new low energy and carbon code that will be required after July. To be honest, of all of them, if I were in a jurisdiction right now, I'd adopt for commercial only, not for residential, but for commercial, I'd adopt that low energy and carbon code commercial provisions because the state went through there and gutted out a lot of the ridiculous requirements that came in. And so I kind of like that one better because it's going to be cheaper than even the 24 and definitely cheaper than the 21. So, I mean, you know, right now, like we just had in Pueblo last night, right now, before June 30th, we can pick and choose. After June 30th, you have to adopt the 24 and the LECC. But before that, we can pick and choose. And we can make amendments. And so that's why, like, we're going to adopt the 24 for residential because it's easier and cheaper. And we're going to adopt the low energy and carbon code for commercial because we can do that. It's cheaper and easier. We can mix and match right now. After July, we can't.
I want to keep going back to that.
Yeah, to the 2030 date.
Because it would give us time to figure this out. Like the first law was passed in 21, this trigger law was passed in 22. We're in 26. And now all of a sudden it's an emergency. And we've got to figure this out right now. We've had 4 years to try to figure it out
I would say
in a logical way.
that the bill you've referenced, Danielle, may not apply to us. I'm looking at section 2. It defines a rural municipality as a municipality with a population of less than 10,000. And it extends the compliance period for adoption and enforcement of the model energy codes in an identical manner to outlined above for the counties. It sounds good till there. It says the bill adds language allowing a rural municipality to adopt a less current model code if it has applied for and not been awarded a grant that significantly assists with energy code adoption and enforcement training. So the trigger to be able to put it off is that we have to have applied for a grant
And been
to
denied
assist us and been denied. And
So
that
it
hasn't
doesn't-
The ARPA grant that
happened.
got turned down, that doesn't apply?
We haven't been turned down.
I thought the ARPA grant was, they're.
No, that was something we didn't apply for. It's a federal opportunity that didn't
So
come
then how
about.
are other municipalities around the state doing this? Because they're doing it, they're waiting. Craig,
So
Colorado actually.
you know, I don't know, but I would say, and I can't speak to the specific municipalities you talk to. I'm happy to call Michael Hall in La Junta and talk to him. But I think that is written mostly for the very small jurisdictions of a couple of hundred people who don't have the capacity to pass it, and the state's giving them a pass to hire someone to come help them pass it. And if they've applied for it, like let's say Vilas or Cokedale or Kim, Colorado, or Branson or Aguilar, because they're all this is applicable to everyone.
Right.
That they are so small that if they applied and the state didn't have the funding, then they would be given that extension. That's the way I'm reading that
Under
legislation.
10,000 though.
Yeah, what's
I
that?
said, we're under 10,000.
Right, but
We
that's what she said. You meet all the requirements up to the point where it says, in order to comply, you had to have applied and been denied.
Right,
And that you guys have not been denied.
no. We're gonna look into it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, I don't know that we can pin
Yeah.
our hopes entirely on that.
Okay, so how about this? Let's change the conversation just a tiny. Let's say we have two options. One, we're going to look at it does kick us to 2030, right? It does kick us to 2030. And so we have until 2030 to do anything, and at that time we know we're going to have to adopt, at that time it'll be the 2027 or the 2030 code, plus the low energy and carbon code or whatever. We don't know because legislation could say you have to do net zero tomorrow, or it could say it all goes away. We have no idea what it'll be, but whatever's in place at 2030, that's what we adopt, right? If that's passed. So that's one option, right? If this is true, here's our other option. We have to do something either by June 30th or by next year. We don't have till 2030. Like, these are the two scenarios. Which one is right? So we say we're going to look into this 2030 thing,
Right.
and see if it truly is. We don't qualify for that. We have to do something now.
Let's say we do qualify for it, then my next question
Yeah.
is, are we gonna get listed as an in-progress community, or are we gonna be listed as a non-compliant?
Well, you would be in compliant because you would be. I don't know. I mean, my guess is that if you're not required to comply until 2030, you'll be compliant because you're not doing anything wrong, right? You would be compliant if that truly comes to be. So let's say we're going to do the research. I want to throw this out there. If it comes back and says you're going to be fine till 2030, you all just know that in 2030 you're going to have to adopt whatever it is that they say is the thing at 2030, right? And that's cool. We're good with that. If they come back and say no, that doesn't apply to you because you applied for a grant but you still haven't been denied, and you haven't been denied yet, and so is the grant you applied for funding for energy code assistance?
I don't know, and I'll be asking.
Right, because we want to make sure that we're following every letter, right?
Right.
So if they come back and say no, you don't have till 2030. This is where I would like to get consensus on what in the heck do we do. Okay? We're going to try to get you off till 2030. That's what it sounds, or we're at least going to research it. Right? But if it comes back that does not apply to you, what are you going to do? Do you want to move forward with the 24 for residential, and then you could do the 24 for commercial, or the low energy and carbon, or whatever, and the state electric ready code by June 30th? Or do you want to wait till July, go to the low energy and carbon code when the state tells us we have to? I mean, I would like to try to come up with, so the city kind of knows it's a big process for them. There's code books to be bought and things to do, and just like it is for y'all.
Could you go back to what you were talking about with the cost, like from the research lab? Like,
Yeah.
if you said, if there's like a 2,500 square foot home being built today with the 2018 codes versus same house, same location, built with the 2024, or, like what would the cost difference be?
Yeah, so it's Home Innovations Research Lab, HIRL. That's, if you want to look it up, they publish their reports, okay? It says from the 18 to the 21, that jump from the 2000, I didn't look to see what the 15 to the 18 is because I haven't had to go there in a long time. To go from the 18 to the 21, it was a $3,000 jump in cost. To go from the 21 to the 24, it was a $3,600 decrease in cost.
So if we do 2018 to 2024,
It's
it's
a
cheaper.
$600 less, basically, right? Because you went up 3,000, then you went down 3,600.
Right, so we don't even need to think about the 2021, so. but-
Yes, don't think about
but
the
you're saying
21.
it's cheaper to build with the 2024.
Yes, yes, 100%.
Cheaper than 2020, 18.
It's cheaper than 2018 and cheaper than 21 to build to the 2024. And that is 100%, I mean, well, 100% credit to the National Association of Home Builders for being there when we're writing codes.
Hey,
Yes.
Sammy, sorry to interrupt y'all.
Okay.
All right, so we just finished one house, we just got a CO just now. So if we adopt the 2024 code and we go and build the exact house, are you telling me you're gonna be cheaper?
I don't see it.
He hasn't
I mean,
reviewed
wait a minute.
24 though.
Yeah, he doesn't see what the 2024 is gonna require him for ducts
But
and
he's
for
just one
mechanical.
person. He's one sub
Yeah,
that I
yeah, I
have.
get it.
Are you gonna go up or down?
Well, what I'll tell you is looking at everything that's happening in the industry with Freon changes and CFMs with, equipment. The equipment is changing drastically. We got low NOx happening here in Colorado. There are some vendors that they're not even gonna meet, they're making equipment that will not work at our elevation. There's a lot of drama
Yep.
going on industry, on the mechanical side.
So I'm
I
asking you,
honestly,
24, do I
can
save
tell
money
you
for
this.
my customers?
Say that again?
So if we get to 24, am I saving money for our customers?
Well, to be fair, they are correct because I have not seen or read what that code looks like.
And that's one code, right? But it is the residential
everything-
code, it's everything in
Yeah,
there.
but everything kind of falls hand in
Yep,
hand.
yep, it sure does.
We might save a $10 over here, but you might have to spend $50.
That's what I just said. You might save a bunch of money on that 2024 energy code, but that wildfire code is gonna cost you some money, and that electric ready code is gonna cost you some money. We don't have any say-so over those two. So all I'm saying, over the codes that we have a say-so over, what do we wanna do? If we're forced to make a decision.
I have a hard time being forced into a decision based off of electrical code that is affecting,
I know.
there's some things that are out there. So for me, like, I'm having a hard time changing our code. Because in one sense, and I, with all due respect to the city of Trinidad and to staff and everybody else, because I've sat on boards, I'm very respectful to all. But I feel like we need, as a city, need to do a better job with following our codes and making sure the correct amendments are there, right? And they are known to the public, because it's not yours. And don't take me wrong on this one, because you're my building official, right? It's not your decision to say, no, you don't have to do that. That's not your decision. That's staff. That is city council. And that's what I want to see happen, because that has not happened here in the past. So some of our things with our code, maybe that's why I get a little perturbed, because things haven't always went right here. I always flow with it, I deal with it, I get through it. But the reality is, if we're going to change the code, then I'm going to be a stickler. I want to know what our amendments are, who's amending them, and I want to see those kind of come in at the very beginning, because I think that's valid. We had, back in 2000, I can't remember what year we actually adopted the 18, but we had a big meeting, and there was nothing amended. Nothing amended, but a whole bunch of stuff said, no, you don't have to do this. Blower door test, 2018 code, right? You were supposed to do that. You were also supposed to do duct blast test. Guess what? None of that stuff came into play. We had somebody say, you don't have to do that, it's gonna cost too much money. That needs to be amended, correct?
Yeah. That's 100% right.
I just want to see
That-
us do the right thing.
That's true, and I will say that, here's the thing about the code, the energy code, especially at the state level. There is a state law, and it went into place in 2015 that says, when you adopt an energy code, it is illegal to amend it to be less restrictive. So I do know some jurisdictions who are not making the amendment, they're just not going to enforce it, right? That's their way of, we would love to amend out blower door testing, but
But
we're
how
not
does,
going to.
does
But-
the home rule charter, does that
Right.
change how that stuff
No,
works?
it's still illegal, but I'm just saying, like, nobody wants to put that in writing, right? Because then you're breaking the law. So I get how that could happen, but it does make it very hard because you're bidding a project thinking you have to do it, somebody's bidding a project thinking they don't have to do it. So I totally understand that. I do. I get that.
Well, and a
Right here.
homeowner being charged to do
Does
it,
this
and I'm
apply-
being charged or not.
To new construction only, or does this also apply, say you have a rental and somebody moves out, you want to remodel it before somebody else moves in, or you want to sell it?
Yeah.
Because then you're talking retrofitting,
Yeah.
which is even more expensive.
Okay.
So does it
So-
apply to that? Does it
It,
apply
it,
to?
it depends. There's different codes we're talking about here. So if we're talking about the wildfire code, well, it depends because I don't know what they're going to end up with overall at the wildfire. So I don't want to address that. If we're talking about the energy code, there is a section in the energy code, chapter 5, that applies to existing buildings. And it'll say if you're doing an addition, you have to comply because that's new construction. If you're doing an alteration, what you touch has to be brought up, but not the stuff that you don't touch, right? So you're going to replace something in that wall, then you're going to fix that wall, and it's going to meet code when you're done, but all the other walls don't have to, right? And so that's in the energy code. The state electric ready, solar ready, EV ready code has a thing in there that says it applies to major renovations. But it doesn't define major renovations. It wants each jurisdiction to come up with their own. And what I see happening is the jurisdictions that don't want it to apply to existing buildings will make that a big, huge, it only kicks in at $1 million, and others that want it to apply to everything will say a major renovation is 5% increase, right? And so I don't remember us coming up with a definition yet of major renovation. So whether or not the electric ready, solar ready, to say it will kick in on a renovation, it probably, just knowing how this is going, it would probably take a huge, huge renovation to kick it in.
So if you go in and gut a property to remodel it, that's probably a yes.
I don't know. That's up to the city to define that.
What about windows, window replacement? When I read in the 2024 code that there's a big
Yeah.
increase in the requirements for something as simple as windows.
Actually, but maybe you're not reading the footnote. So the 2024 code it used to be a 0.32 window, now it's a 0.30 U factor, right? But there's a little footnote in there that nobody reads that says if you're over 4,000 feet in elevation, you're back up to that 0.32 window. So there really was no change.
Windows are not changing at all.
Lower the code, the more restrictive.
The lower the U factor, the better the window,
Right.
right? But it's staying at 0.32 because of that footnote. What it's just saying that when you get over 4,000 feet in elevation, some of those windows, to meet those lower U factors, have to rely on gas, the argon in the windows. And so you lose some of that gas as you go over those high elevations. So it's just saying you can use a worse window over 4,000 feet in elevation, which I'm sure you are at over 4,000 feet in elevation. I don't know much of Colorado that is.
How does this apply to a commercial building?
Commercial buildings.
I have an existing one right now.
Yeah. So commercial is the same. The code says for the electric ready, solar ready, EV ready, for existing buildings it applies if you do a major renovation, right? So I don't know. I will tell you that the electric ready, solar ready is the same for everybody, but electric ready is way more lenient for commercial buildings. You don't actually have to even put the outlet in. You have to run the conduit, but no wires and stuff there. It's more lenient for commercial buildings, and it has different sizes of commercial buildings for new construction. For existing construction, it just says major renovation, which we haven't defined yet. For the energy code, the 2024 energy code did say all new commercial buildings have to get renewables, and so we amended that out. And we were allowed to amend it out even though it was less restrictive because the state also amended out of their low energy and carbon code, so they gave me permission to amend it out of your code. So they said, we have green renewables at the grid, we don't need to handle that on every building. So they let us amend that out. But there are some other things in there that make it a little bit cumbersome, and that's where I say that low energy and carbon code is actually easier to use for commercial buildings because it cut out things like the requirements for controlled outlets in your buildings and energy monitoring in your buildings and all the renewables and stuff. So they made it easier to use that. To me, I would go that way. But if not, I can amend the commercial.
Is there anything on fire suppression?
What's that?
Fire suppression.
Fire suppression? What
You
about
don't
it?
have to redo it. If it's an older building, you don't have to.
Well, that is gonna depend on your fire department, on what, if they've redone their codes. I don't know,
We amended this street.
I haven't seen, you guys, I mean, you're not for commercial buildings though, right?
No, we didn't.
Right, and so I haven't seen your fire code amendments, only the wildfire amendments. So I don't remember what, I don't think I've seen it. I don't know. I look at too many, but we'd have to double check with the fire on that, right? Yes.
So on electric ready code, there is that carve out, if your jurisdiction, for whatever reason, is limited in the amount of solar they can do.
Yeah.
So we already talked about
Right.
that, and
Yep.
we'll amend that out.
Yeah.
On the electric ready code, I understand that residences are required to run conduit, but is there any kind of carve out if you could make an actual justified claim that you can't serve electric ready
I've asked that.
based on infrastructure?
I have asked that, and they say that this is what Adam has told me, is that I'm not allowed to write that out as an amendment because, just because it can't happen today doesn't mean it can't happen in the future. So if you're gonna build a new house, get it ready now, and then hopefully someday they'll be able to serve it. But I guess we could run it by him
That's
again.
a difficult.
It is
thing for a
difficult.
jurisdiction
It
to
is.
decline.
It is.
If we adopt that, we're essentially saying that if a homeowner or a developer wants to put in a subdivision, and that subdivision is gonna be energy, it's gonna be electric ready, right?
Yep.
70 new houses electric ready, and we cannot provide that service to them.
Right.
Now, we have adopted something
That's
that's state
right.
mandate that we can't actually meet.
I'd
I'd be interested in what our liability is.
I agree. And I have to say that I did get approval in one jurisdiction where the utility, it was a county and they had their own utility, and the utility said there is absolutely no way, we can't even keep up with the panels that are going on now with new construction. You're gonna add electric ready, there's no way, we just can't even do it. And so the utility wrote a letter to the state, and I was able to not amend it out, but they gave us some wording that I was allowed to put in there that says that it just gave me a new implementation date. It's not, we're adopting it, but it will not be implemented until such time as the utility can provide the service. And so there is the ability to do something.
I think we're gonna need to look at that,
Yeah.
because I don't wanna be in a position where we can't provide
Right.
it. And we're legally supposed to provide it
Yeah,
now.
right, because then
And
there's
we
an
say to the
expectation.
developer,
Yep.
it's going to cost this much
Yep.
to provide that, and they say no, based on the law you've adopted, you must provide that today.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna need to look at that.
Yeah, I had to get
If we
I
go
had
down
to,
this
yeah,
road.
I had to get a letter from the utility, but they didn't let me write it to say, we will adopt it, but we won't implement it until such time.
Do you see that being a problem if the municipality is the utility?
It's usually the municipality, it's not a problem for Excel,
Okay.
right? They've known about this and they're working on
Right.
it, but it is generally when the utility is, the city is the utility, or like a Black Hills maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's valid. I mean, look, we do have an antiquated infrastructure when it comes
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
towers. And I see it, I mean, as an mechanical guy, yet again, I see when, certain pieces of equipment, when they start, it's a heavy amp draw. You can see it in everybody's lights. There's other equipment that's very kind to the amp draw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of these newer heat
Right.
pumps
Yeah.
are easier on
Sure.
the amp draw. But
Sure.
if you still have, even if we moved in a lot of that, you could, if we got creative and found a way to offer incentives to people to put more energy efficient equipment that is less draw off the beginning of the start. But if you have 100 of them, is it really taking any load? It's just taking.
It's
the start.
true. And I think, some of the things that I've worked on with other jurisdictions is, we started this process 4 years ago when the law, or 3 years ago when the law first came out, and we started like, okay, let's build a code and focus on the thermal envelope. Right? Get really good insulation, good windows, whatever, That way, when we do have to go this route, we aren't taking very much of a load over because we built a really great building to start with, and so we're not carrying a huge load over. And so, you know, that is definitely something to consider. And so, yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
finish. My
you're
follow-up
doing great.
question,
Go
what
ahead.
we were saying is, if we can get that carved out, then
Yeah.
if we had the carve out for solar, the way I understand it is, then a homeowner building a home would not have to provide the space on the roof for the solar.
They wouldn't have to jump through the solar ready.
They would. If we get this carve out based on infrastructure, would they still be required to run the conduit? If we get the carve out, could we get the carve out
So that they
saying
can
this
run-
homeowner, this builder that's building a new home, because we got this carve out, doesn't have to run that conduit?
I don't know that you would get out of running the conduit, but you'd get out of the outlets and the wiring maybe.
Okay.
You would have to do a string, you know, do a drawstring in the conduit, but I don't know that you'd get out of the.
But you wouldn't have to wire the home.
Right, okay, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
What can this lead to other costs, say like if we're doing that subdivision, we're talking about, we're gonna put 100 homes in there and all EV ready, right? We're gonna put 100 EV cars in there. Now doesn't our fire department have to be able to put these cars out? If
There's
they catch
nothing
on
saying
fire,
you're
I mean,
gonna put EV
that's a pretty big deal, isn't it? To put one of these things out.
it's a huge deal, yeah.
So, I mean, now we're putting 100 of these things and pushing it.
But you're
So we
not,
need
you're
that
not
kind of
installing those, right? You're getting it, you're running the conduit.
But once it's here, we have to. be
But,
prepared
yeah,
for
but,
it.
right, but, and so someday, what is the likelihood that all 100 homes are gonna get an EV ready car today? You know, I don't know, but you're right. It's, the thing is the state will tell me, because I ask them these questions all the time, and they'll be like, you know, it's up, this is the law. The utilities have known that electrification was coming. The fire departments have known that these these cars are out there. It's up to them to catch up, not us to hold off on laws until they catch up.
But are we prepared right now?
I don't know. I have no
I
idea.
bet you we're not.
I bet not. I don't think very
So
many
that's a
people
lot
are.
of extra money, is what I'm trying to
I
say.
do get it. I 100% get it. I'm not here to argue with you over any of that. I'm the code writer. I didn't write the state books. That's legislation. Yeah, so. I don't know. I can't say if you're ready for it or not. I can tell you, you can ask me these questions and this is great, and I can give you my experience. The state said yes, the state said no, we should do this, we should do that. So, I guess where we're at right now is we're gonna research the 2030 thing and see if there's any way that it could still apply.
We're gonna look at the grant impact.
We're gonna look at the grant to see if it is about energy, because that's what this is. There's grants out there that allow you to hire people to do your energy code enforcement and do all of that to make it less harder on you.
We need clarification on the executive orders.
Okay?
So I have a question if I can.
Yeah.
So, the way that I see this, as usual, this is in effect, it's an unfunded mandate from the
Sure.
state, really.
Well, some of it's unfunded.
I can't speak if you interrupt me.
Yes, sir.
So, it's an unfunded mandate from the state, and it's, as usual, disproportionately onerous to rural Colorado. That where we supply a lot of stuff such as royalties and severance taxes in mass, and we get them back in pennies. And they're not making exceptions for us. But as near as I can tell tonight, and I thank you for being here, as hard a pill as it is to swallow, from some perspective, what you guys are trying to do is make sense of a very complex situation and give us the best option, even if it's hard to see. And that's what your mission is, right?
I don't care if you adopt the codes or don't adopt the codes. I don't want you to be breaking the law, and so because I support jurisdiction, I don't want you to be breaking the law. I would love to get you whatever is best for you if you have to do something.
What does the county do? You guys know?
What county is it?
They're not touching it until the 30th or 31st. That's when our conversation is.
Till June 30th? Or you
March 30th.
I'm sorry, what, March? I'm trying to understand what you said.
No, this is absolutely unofficial. It's me talking to some
Yeah,
friends
it's
that
okay.
said they're gonna talk about it on the meeting towards the 31st of this month.
Oh, okay.
Or
okay.
something.
I think so, because I know they're on my radar, I just, there's only 3 of us in the state that go around and help the jurisdictions, right? And so we split it up, and if there's jurisdictions in Excel territory, that's somebody else that's helping them, so that, so it's just, I don't know every jurisdiction. Yeah.
Okay. Can we maybe just back up for
Yeah.
a second? I got a little bit confused because you were talking about 2 different wildfire
Yes.
issues, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the resiliency code.
Yeah.
Okay. If we adopt that, is that standalone?
Yes.
And Chief Burnett's gonna be here Monday to talk to
That's
the
Yes.
city council.
standalone.
Yeah.
So just saying in my mind, I'm trying to figure it all out too.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there's one issue that we've taken care of. If that's mandated, we have to do it, boom, that's standalone. The second thing I'm hearing, and I'm a general contractor,
That's cool, I get it.
screaming over housing costs.
I hear you.
We stay at 18.
Okay.
We stay exactly where we're at, like the other 60 communities our size and bigger that we've seen the list of. We've got till 2030.
We don't know.
As long as we meet certain criteria.
As long as we meet certain criteria. That's what we're researching right now.
Okay, so
That's what I'm trying to say. We either
that's
have
what
till
we
2030
need
or
to-
we have till August. Don't
We
know.
have until June 30th.
June 30th.
Yeah.
To make a decision.
Yes. To adopt.
No, to have it adopted. Yeah. So let me make sure that he's finished.
Okay, no, I was. I needed that clarification
Yeah.
because you're going back and forth on different wildfire.
I know there's a
codes,
lot of
back and
codes,
forth,
unfortunately,
and
and I
one's
can't
connected.
say if you're adopting the wildfire code. That's up to the fire department.
No, we're just talking options.
all right.
That's all we're talking about
Perfect.
here.
Yep.
Because we don't know.
Yep.
We're trying to figure it out.
Truly.
So, and we stay at 18. We hopefully apply, and you can call it kick the can, you can call it survive until 2030. That's,
Yeah, if the language lets you do that,
And if
it might
that
be
keeps
an
us
option.
compliant.
If
we
it keeps
had
you compliant.
The grants that we would be restricted funds, we currently are operating with $12 million from those grants. So it's gonna be really difficult to do things.
Gotcha.
If we're cut off from those 5 grant agencies. Not that I know that that would happen
Right.
in 2030, but it's a serious
do you
consideration.
know how much money we're gonna lose in the construction industry and the jobs and everything? That's what scares me. We're gonna lose like 15%, and then people are gonna stop building. We're
And
gonna
we
stop
can talk
having
about
jobs.
this more, and let me just make this point first. What I'm hearing though is the 2024 saves money on construction to the 2018. Tell me if I heard that wrong.
For that code.
For that
code.
The residential code.
All the other stuff does add some cost, so,
Okay.
I can't say in the end.
That's why there's that question, because, so
Yeah.
you said like apples to apples, 2,500 square foot, for like that's built.
Yeah.
2018 code
Yep.
is more expensive than the 2024
Correct.
code in construction costs. So what are the extra costs that people in all these jurisdictions are wanting to avoid?
Well, you want to avoid, but can you? The electric ready stuff and the wildfire stuff that the state is mandating.
And what are the extra costs? Can we find those online on the research thing?
No, those are, because the National Association of Home Builders does the international code. They look at the cost of the international code. The stuff for local, we have to get from the state. I have not been able to get a cost of the wildfire code, and I think it's it would be hard for them to come up with a cost because there's so many different options. There's, what, 7 options of how you could build an exterior wall, right? And so I don't know what those costs are associated. So I don't know what the wildfire code will cost. But the electric ready code, that's the one where they evaluated and said for a 2,500 square foot house, it'd be an extra $1,250.
Well, okay, right, so it would be, let's say $500,000 today, and then add $1,250 to that.
To add to the cost of the house?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I see where you're saying. Generally, the house will sell for whatever the market sells it for. So a house sells for $500,000, it's going to sell for $500,000. Whether it costs you $200,000 to build it or $400,000, you're going to sell it for whatever the market will sell and hope you make a bigger profit, right? Like, am I wrong? And so if it costs more to build it, what that's doing, and believe me, I'm not in love with it. What it's doing is lessening the builder's profit margin, and that's where what's getting hurt the most is the builder's profit margin, and that's what we're trying to save, right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm not arguing.
All right,
This
good.
hurts our customers. This hurts the people that are moving into our community. This hurts grandma that wants to replace
We have
that
to look
window.
at, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we have to look at, Trinidad has not really had a major development in a lot of years, right? So a lot of homes that have been being built over the last 10 years have not been development homes. They've been private. I am building for me. I am building for me.
Yes.
I am building for me. They're not building as a developer. Now we're getting into something where we have this opportunity. We have a place that there is a division, and this can be affected. That can affect that development. I mean, that worries me. The price that we're going to see, that can be seen, scares me. Because it can easily back off. He's going to try to sell those homes where you, as a builder, you're doing a custom home. You're building it for someone.
Right, yes. That is a very
There's a big difference. There's a big difference in it. What she was saying is talking about builders, guys that are doing developments. You know, it's going to hurt your pocket.
Right.
We do
Right.
custom homes.
Correct.
That's a different ballgame.
Yes, sorry, yes. Very good clarification. Thank you very much. Apologize.
So you don't think they would just pass the expense on to the next buyer? Like me, if I'm the investor and I'm building a house,
Probably.
whenever you buy that house from me, you're gonna pay for everything I put in it. I'm not cutting you no break.
Yeah.
I don't build to lose.
Agreed.
But that's building.
But, so you said that it was gonna fall on the
No,
building
that-
owners, and it's not. They're gonna pass that on to the people that buy. So it's driving up our housing market.
I think what's scary is what freaks me out is when you look at somebody, anybody, the normal, every average day Joe wants to go build a house. That's the people, because that's what happens more often than not here in Trinidad. It's people that's building something for them. There's not developments happening. So when I look at our community, those are the people that I live with. It's our general public, because those are the people that are going out and doing these things.
Houses are already so expensive.
Wait a minute, I spent $500,000 on
All right.
a house, it cost me $500,000. I do the electric, the extra wiring for future, I do all this, I'm charging $520.
But, so here's the.
Maybe not $520, but I'm jacking the price up to cover the extra stuff that we had to put in.
Absolutely.
That's just business.
Just business.
Can I ask? I mean, I like chat. We could talk all night, and I think we absolutely could talk all night. Can I get an idea from the city what next steps would be, so that we can kind of let everybody know what next steps would be?
So we'll definitely do some research on that.
2020.
Yeah, 2020, that housing bill. As well as, and we'll see how our grants impacts are there. Get some clarification on the executive order, see how that's going to play into that grants, the granting and as for this, we are going to be referring this back to city council.
What's the next work session for April?
April 13th at 3 o'clock, that work session.
So what are you saying, that's what this is going into, like say, hey, yeah, we're gonna do this, and now we're not doing it? Or-
No, we're gonna do the research first, and we'll take it in front of
For a work session?
For the work session to let them know.
So, will there be another meeting after
Yes.
for the general public before we start going back
We
to
were
city
planning on
council?
having a second public meeting with the answers for what we find.
So how does the timeline look for that according to the deadline?
Yeah, to make sure that we're kind of still.
You have to get in two
It's a
readings.
tight schedule.
If we had to adopt a code, you have to get in two readings before June 30th so that it goes. You have to have it adopted by June 30th. It does not have to go into effect June 30th. You have like 3 months to make it go into effect. So it has to be adopted by June
It
30th.
has to be introduced at first reading.
Right, or at least first
During
reading.
the
There you go.
second meeting of May.
Yes.
Second meeting of May. It has to be introduced for first reading.
All right, so.
That
We
gives
haven't
us
seen it yet.
April. April and the first part of May to
Yeah,
decide.
we'll have our second meeting in April after the work session, so I think we had planned it for the 22nd.
Yeah.
For April 22nd for another public meeting. I'll announce it, I'll make sure you guys get a notice like this notice.
And we will do the absolute massive due diligence that we can between now and then, come up with every, and I'm gonna get all these answers straight from the horse's mouth on all of them, so.
And just for clarification, on Monday, Chief Burnett
Yep, Chief
is
Burnett.
coming down to talk about the wildland urban interface.
He's awesome.
So we're gonna get a similar presentation at City Council at 3 o'clock on Monday. And then depending on the questions that come out of that, we may have a public meeting regarding that
Okay.
in April.
All
It
right.
has to be introduced at the same time as the building code to
Right.
meet that July 1 deadline.
Gotcha.
So, so on Monday, will we get the comparison, Tara, of whether we adopt the resilience or
The resiliency code versus the wildland urban interface.
we'll get both of
We're
those?
gonna talk about what the benefits and restrictions are on both.
Okay, okay. And then on the 13th of April, we'll have the answers to
For the
these
building
questions?
code, that's when we'll do our presentation for the building code as well. We'll have our answers hopefully by then for everything.
So the work sessions are gonna be around this for a while. So Monday, wildland, the 13th, answers here.
Okay.
Then we may have more public meetings. Regardless, if we're doing anything, we have to introduce the third meeting, the second meeting of May,
Right.
third week of May.
It is super tough, and I have to applaud y'all for being here, because there's a lot of places I go and there's like 1 or 2 people in the room, and then they're really screaming after it gets adopted. So I applaud you for being here and being involved and having your voice be heard. It is super hard. It's super hard. There's some things that we just have no say-so over, and so we're gonna find all the answers that we can, and then we're gonna make the absolute best decision that we can for Trinidad. That's
So, this is everybody, I don't talk much, so I'm gonna put it in layman's terms.
all right.
Before June 30th, you could get shot with a 22. After June 30th, you could get shot with a 45. You're getting shot. It just depends on what your wound is going to look like.
That's correct.
And there you, I'm gonna just change my.
I think we're gonna stop with that. Thank you.
Getting shot, do you want a 22 or 45?
I'd rather get shot in 2030. Yeah, me too.